The College Basketball Experience Atlantic Coast Conference 2023-24 season preview. Yes, the the ACC Conference preview episode on the College Basketball Experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Game Time. Snag the tickets without the stress. Use the promo code CFBX on your first purchase to save $20. Once again, download the Game Time app. Use that promo code CFBX to save $20. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just added Pick'em Scorchers. Yes. Where you can win 100 times the amount of money you enter. Woo. That's right. Turn $5 into $500 in one game. Plus, every Sunday, they're giving away $100K. Use that promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for 100% deposit bonus up to $500. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, this is John Sally, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the College Basketball Experience Atlantic Coast Conference. ACC Conference 2023-24 season preview. Remember, next year, you can no longer say the Atlantic Coast Conference because they're going to have a shit ton of random teams in there. But let's enjoy it for this year. Oh, man. Look, I grew up in the D.C. area. The ACC at that point was by far the best conference in college basketball. I don't even think it was close. Maybe you could make a case the Big East, but I still think the ACC back before Maryland wasn't a turncoat bastard and go jump to the Big Ten to play Rutgers in that big time rivalry they got there. But we used to have, I can remember when Corey Alexander and Junior Burrow were at Virginia, and they were good. And you had Maryland, Walt Williams, X-Ray Hip, Joe Smith, all this shit. And then you had Carolina rolling along with one of the best big men ever in Eric Montross. That's a good one. But no, you had Duke rolling along. You had NC State, Tom Gugliotta, Chris Corchiani. You had Georgia Tech with Travis Best, Stephon Marbury, just James Forrest. It was just fantastic. Florida State with Bob Sura, Sam Cassell. And every team was fucking nasty. Every team was nasty. It was a bundle of fun. All right. And maybe they get back there this year in the final year of the ACC the way we know it. Look, if you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
Nobody knows nothing. Somebody knows. Double the price, but no one touches Dundee.
Oh, the Atlantic Coast Conference used to just hate each other. Everyone was rivals. And then they added some Big East schools. Randomly, Notre Dame found itself in there. I remember Virginia Tech when they were in the A-10. They jumped over. I don't really like conference realignment, if you can't tell. But the ACC's still fun. Love their football crowds. Gets the sarcasm. Look, I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And he is the host of the Big 12 College Experience, which you should be subscribed to. He is also the host of the Ryan and Rush Show, which you should check out. Give it up for Ryan McIntyre. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing good. Ready to talk our favorite league, the ACC. You know, it's crazy, though, man. was an ACC fan myself growing up, being in the DMV area just like you. And it's crazy just going through these teams before. I mean, you look at the coaching changes. You think of Duke with Krzyzewski, Boeheim with Syracuse just a couple of years ago. Mike Bray's no longer in the league anymore. Roy Williams isn't in the league anymore. It's so unrecognizable. And then, of course, we'll add Stanford and Cal and SMU next year. So that'll make it more recognizable, right?
Oh, I mean, look, I love Berkeley is just prime real estate in the Atlantic Ocean. Let me tell you. Look, I mean, football. We love college football, but it definitely fucks with the college basketball shit too. And I hate. I wish it was more 50-50 instead of like 95-5. Like as far as like the amount of money that comes in for football, and that dictates where everyone goes, and pretty much all the conference realignment you can pretty much go back to football with. But look, this guy. Well, by the way, we wanted to have two guys on, and I'll tell the story in a second. But this guy has been ACC basketball shit since like 1988. Since fucking Mark Allery. All right. Look, I mean, I can remember watching Christian Leitner's game winner in my living room against the Kentucky Wildcats and him dancing around the house like a jackass. All right, give it up for NC Nick. Where's he at?
Where'd he go?
The fuck's going on here?
He blacked him out.
I think he froze.
Oh. Anyway, we're having technical difficulties.
All the ACC guys are hiding.
Yeah. So look, here's the thing. Terrell Furman Jr. and NC Nick came on this show last year. What the hell's happening over here?
I don't. His camera's frozen backstage, so I don't know what's going on.
NC Nick, dip out and come back. All right, go pay the bill.
You got the tree coming down on the cable. You got to get out there, deadlift it, and get it moving.
Your shit is fucking up a little bit too, dude. Is everyone's what the hell's happening over here? All right,
it's the ACC country, man.
The Russians are back. No, but look, so Terrell Furman Jr., I reached out. I said, "What are you doing tomorrow night?" Never got back to me. He never got back to me because last year he was on the show, and I wanted the rivalry to heat up some. And NC Nick's a diehard Duke fan. Terrell Furman Jr., diehard North Carolina Tar Heel fan. And it just never happened. The show needed to roll on. And here we are. NC Nick can't even get on the fucking thing. So it's like, let's just talk ACC hoops then, right? No, but what do you make of the ACC like as a whole? Not SMU, Cal, and Stanford. We'll get NC Nick's opinion of that in a minute. But right now, 15 teams this year, 2023-24 season. You got, I feel like you got Tony Bennett. There are some still, as much as we've lost some legacy names, you got Jimmy Larranaga, a.k.a. Bernie Lomax, who I feel like is just down there in South Florida. Probably died 20 years ago, but he's still coaching somehow, some way. Leonard Hamilton, I consider a godfather, too, of college basketball right now. And then you have, Tony Bennett, which I think is in the realm of that. As three like mainstays in college basketball at the moment. There's not a lot. When you think about, Izzo probably is the top, right? Izzo is the top. And Lante said look, Terrell, I don't know, he was occupied, and Lante, we got to get you on a show coming up, man. But no, college basketball landscape and things with the head coaches, you would say, like over the past 5 years, we've just lost so many big time head coaches. Maybe it's the NIL, maybe it's the transfer portal, but you still have a couple legacy coaches in the ACC. You still got Tom Izzo there at Michigan State. You still got Rick Pitino out there in the world. You got a couple still floating out there. What do you make of all of that, man?
Yeah, and we got Leonard Hamilton in this league.
Yeah.
So, that got old school there. Obviously, Jimmy Larranaga. So, the Florida guys holding it down. But, I think you look at this league. John Scheyer replacing Coach K. That's the obvious one. Hubert Davis replacing Roy Williams. And then, of course, we just lost Boeheim, who's going to be replaced by Adrian Autry the first year. And there was one other. Oh, Mike Bray. Shrewsbury's in for Mike Bray. So, yeah, we've lost some legendary coaches in this league specifically.
Yeah. And it's I mean, all over college basketball, was specifically the ACC. And you wonder if that's maybe some of the reasons why they've been down a little bit. But either way, it's going to be excited to talk about. Obviously, I mean, Duke's bringing back a ton that I know we're going to get to in a minute here once NC Nick plugs in his internet. Yeah, in general, what do you make of like the conference heading into the season though? How many teams do you think they're getting in the NCAA tournament?
What did they get last year? 5, and that was very, very, very generous. They got thrown a bone with Pitt and NC State. I'd probably say 3, maybe 4. I'd probably say Duke, Miami, Carolina, and Virginia headed into the year are tournament teams.
Yeah, I think maybe 5, buddy. I think it might be 5.
Who's the 5th? I don't know who the 5th is.
I'll get to it. But folks, while we're waiting for NC Nick's electricity, I want to tell you that the ACC season preview episode for 2023-24 on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network and the College Basketball Experience is brought to you by the Game Time app. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be that stressful. Game Time's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. I mean, you see it with the Cammon Crazies. They're out there camping out like a month before. Basically, killing all chances of getting ass unless you find one of those good nerds, right? You know what I mean? Like, you got to just use the Game Time app, folks. You don't have to sit there at the tent for a fucking month, even though I appreciate the dedication. Just pull out the Game Time app, and you'll be able to find that thing. So with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over getting the tickets essentially and start getting hyped for the fun you'll be having at that very event. And forget planning months in advance. What's that ever done for you? All right. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. The Game Time guarantee they have is fantastic. It means you'll always get the best price. Yeah. In fact, if you find tickets in the same row and section for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Yes, so snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply once again. Create that account, CFBX, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, we are back on the College Basketball Experience, and we're still struggling a little bit on the setup. But look, I mean, I don't know. Let's just start talking a little bit about these teams. But we can skip over Duke in case Nick comes back. Well, the good news is if we go alphabetically, we talk about Boston College first, and that's kind of like doing an ad read. You know what I mean? Like, look, it's been a tough. Look, I like Earl Grant as a head coach. I really do. But at the same time, Boston College, ever since Al Skinner was fired, which should have never been fired, by the way, they've been ass. They've been complete ass. Look, 16-17 last year, 9-11 in ACC. You're close. You're getting close to turning that corner. But Boston College, look, they lose Mekhi Ashton Langford, who was like their best player over recent, the recent years. They also lost DeMar Langford, TJ Bickerstaff, and CJ Penn. That's some substantial pieces they lost right there. The very Golden Eagles did. But look, they do return a few that I think can keep you excited about Boston College basketball if you're a fan. Jaden Zachary is back at the point spot. Got about 11 points per game a season ago, 1.5 steals. He's on it. Also, Claudell Harris transfers in from Charleston Southern. It's a guy that averaged 17.5 points a game with Charleston Southern a year ago. So that backcourt, Earl Grant has that pipeline to South Carolina, I feel like. They also have the big man, Quentin Post, 15 points a game a season ago. Those three are going to be the nucleus of the team. Yes, you have Devin McLaughlin. Maybe he steps up. He was only getting 17 minutes a game, 6'7" forward. Also, Prince Aligbe. All those guys. I mean, honestly, Aligbe flashed, I thought, as a freshman. Got a decent starting five, I think. The bench, Mason Madsen, Chaz Kelly, Donald Hand, Armani Mighty, all back. But what's your take on this team, and what's your take in general of Earl Grant? Because I liked him a lot, and I just wonder, it's hard to win in Chestnut Hill, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whatever. What's your take on the Eagles here?
I'm going to lead it off with the rare positive in the ACC for me. I actually kind of think BC can take a little bit of a step this year. You look at what he did year one, 13-20, then goes to 16-17. He can't beat the Maine Cocaine Bears, though, as we all know when we gave out 19-1 on the money line. But I kind of think that this group could be maybe NIT bound. I think that would be a realistic expectations. It's like you said, man, this is a hard job. I liked Earl Grant at College of Charleston. I think he's doing a decent job, though. I
do too, and I think you got to be patient with him.
Yes.
They learn. I hope This is what happens if Iowa fires Ferentz. It's like what happened when they got rid of Al Skinner. Al Skinner was getting them to the tournament. All right, right.
Careful what you wish for.
BC fans would love to get back to those days where Howard Isley and company were leading them, to a game or two in the tournament. But look, Robert in the chat, he thinks Earl Grant's gonna take a step forward in the right direction. I hope so. I would love to see them get back there and getting competitive and get the fans behind them and stuff. I actually don't think the starting five's that bad. It's the depth that I worry about. Right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I like Quinton Post in the post. No pun intended there. But they got some vets on this team. McLaughlin and then obviously Claudel Harris Jr. that comes over. I think that this is kind of a sneaky team that's going to be better than what the general public thinks, that just thinks they're going to kind of just suck ass, kind of like Georgia Tech in football right now.
Oh, there we go. Hang on here. There we go.
There he is.
We got there he is, folks. Apologize for the structure being all over the place, but this guy, he is the host. He's been one of the hosts of the college basketball and college football experience for years on years. He grew up watching ACC basketball every game he can get his eyes on. I witnessed it. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, home brew making, tobacco road living, the free lot giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up, Red Sea Nick in the place to be.
There we go. Just trying to make an entrance, guys.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I set it up for we were gonna. I know there's reports that Terrell's not feeling good, and that's completely understandable because I don't expect anyone to be texting me when they're feeling like shit. But we wanted to have Terrell on as the North Carolina fan, and you on as the Duke fan, and just pretty much just watch you guys fight. But we'll save that for when the game happens. But again,
we've done that a couple times. I'm always welcome to more of that for sure. Now, you guys were kind of slandering the ACC before I left, and I don't want to go back, but yeah, I mean, like the ACC's problems are not unique to the ACC. Every conference stretches across the whole country now, so can you not call the SEC with teams in Texas and Oklahoma? They're no longer Southeast, et cetera, et cetera. The Big 12 has more than 12 teams. The Big 10 has more than 10 teams. So you can't call them any the conferences the same names. But I did catch the tail end of what Mac was saying about Boston College. And I kind of agree, because I do think that the coach up there is making baby steps year over year over year. They're winning a couple more games, and they are bringing back, a decent amount of production from last year. And if they can, stay healthy and Quinton Post can play the whole season, I think Boston College could be at least middle of the pack, maybe a potential dark horse sleeper in the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, Claudel Harris, the transfer, is going to be a big one to watch. The Charleston Southern, it's one thing to average 17.5 points a game at Charleston Southern, but then you go to, I know he was shitting on the ACC, but obviously you're still night in, night out, you're going up against, a lot better competition in the Atlantic Coast Conference than, say, the.
I mean, ACC has 3 last 8 Final Four teams, 3 of the last 8 national championship teams. So I don't think it's fallen off that far. I mean, things are a little cyclical. A couple down years, that's a drop in the bucket.
Woo! I like it. I like it. It's already chippy. I love it. I guess before I jump into the next team, we were gonna ask your comments on the addition of SMU, Stanford, and Cal, because I mean there was a time Stanford. I remember them making a Final Four with Brevin Knight and Mark Madsen setting white people back by about 10,000 years with this fucking dance. But Cal, I can remember a time where you had the Blues when Jason Kidd and Lamont Murray beat the piss out of Duke in the NCAA tournament. But those programs have been struggling lately. And then you have SMU, which I guess Larry Brown had them in the tournament. I don't know. I feel like they were in the tournament a couple years ago. But what's your take on adding those 3?
I'm not a huge fan, but I guess it is. You have to add them to survive. I mean, I wish it was back to 9 teams and we all play each other round robin, home and away. That'd be my preference. So, yeah, adding these 3 teams doesn't do much for the basketball side of things. But apparently, there's some new open TV windows on the West Coast that the ACC can, get some money in. So, no, I don't like it whatsoever. But it is what it is. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, and I actually like the Madsen hire at Cal. I think he's going to make them good. Now, I know it's not this year for college basketball. This is for next year, people, in case you're wondering. Stanford, who knows? SMU, I do think the way they spend money, they'll be fine. But anyway, let's continue on this journey. We're all over the place here. We talked about BC. Any chance BC makes the NCAA tournament, Mac?
Probably not. I think that's a steep hill to climb. So I'm saying NIT, man. I'm going to be optimistic with the Eagles.
NC Nick, any chance?
Yeah, I think I tend to agree. I think making the NCAA tournament, that's a little too far fetched. But I do think there's postseason basketball in their future.
All right, well, let's jump over and talk about Brad Brownell in year 14. He's become the veteran of the ACC coaches now. Year 14. 23-11 a year ago, 14-6 in conference. They made it to the NIT. Some say they should have made it to the NCAA tournament. Hunter Tyson, though, 15 points, just about 10 boards a game, gone. Brevin Galloway, the former Boston College Eagle, gone. But they went out and I love the ACC to ACC transfers. They got Jack Clark, used to hit dingers with the St. Louis Cardinals and San Francisco Giants. Is coming over from NC State, and then they got Joe Girard from Syracuse. He's like, I don't want to. Wait a second. Adrian Autry is going to bring in offensive talent? No. Look, I'm going to go. Let me transfer down to Clemson. They also brought in Air Force transfer, Jack Hydebreeder, and also UNC Greensboro transfer, Boss Lete, probably butchering that. Sorry, boss. Shout out to Brett Rigger in the chat too. It's a true legend right there. Big Duke fan. What do you make of what they brought in? And well, first off, I guess I should hit also that Chase Hunter and PJ Hall are back. PJ Hall, I don't know if he's ever gone a week without an injury, but they're both back. What do you make of this roster? Because they have a lot of depth as far as minutes in the college basketball world. They've played college basketball for a while, maybe transfers from other schools, but they got a lot of guys that have played. Mac, what do you make of Clemson, and can they improve from NIT to, say, the big dance?
Well, I mean, you could make the argument they should have made it last year over NC State with the way they beat them in Greensboro in the tournament. They're really going to miss Hunter Tyson and Brevin Galloway. But you mentioned it, man. This is kind of a weird team where they got a bunch of vets, kind of a bunch of journeymen with Girard and Clark, pairing them up with their already veteran group with Hall and Hunter. I think that they're going to be a bubble team for sure. I think that's been Brownell's MO in Clemson, and they've always been right there. And kind of when you write off Brownell and put him on the hot seat and think he's dead, that's when he pops up and makes the tournament.
Could I make a case that it's very hard for football and basketball schools to be good at the same time. And with Clemson's demise, could the basketball team be taking some of the thunder? NC Nick, what do you make of Brad Brownell? He's been there forever. I know a lot of people thought the hot seat, not the case. But hey, what do you think about this team coming into this year and Brownell in general?
Well, roster-wise, I like what they did. I mean, I think this is one of the oldest teams in the country. I mean, they're top 7 guys are upperclassmen. They got 4 of them are graduate players. So they have one of the most experienced teams in the ACC, and also probably one of the most talented teams they've had at Clemson for a while. On paper, the roster looks really well. My question is more about Brownell as a coach.
7 years.
Sorry. I had to help.
Tommy boy.
A lot of people go to college for 7 years.
Okay, continue.
My question is more about Brownell as a coach. I never thought he was, a top-notch X's and O's guy. They always play kind of a slow pace, defensive game, and usually, come March they kind of fade away. Often you see him start strong but fade down the stretch. But I definitely like what they did with the roster. I think this is one of the better teams he's had there, so I do expect them to go dancing.
I actually had them as a team dancing too this year, man. I could see the bubble too, though. I could see them being like, right on the bubble. But a couple years ago, they played they got Rutgers or something in the first round.
They lost.
Yeah, that was a wild game.
The COVID year.
Yeah. I kind of think in an ACC where I feel like we kind of know the top 4 spots, but after that, it's wide open. I don't see why Clemson fans should think they should be 5th. I feel like they'll be right there in the neck of it. All right, let's jump on over and talk about the next team, the Duke Blue Devils. Yes, NC Nick's Duke Blue Devils with John Scheyer going into his second season after a 27-9 first season, 14-6 in the ACC as they tied for 3rd. They did lose, Derek Lively, Dariq Whitehead, and Jacob Grandison. All gone, but at the same time, I think the bigger story is the fact of who they brought back. Jeremy Roach, his 75th year of college, is back. Tyrese Proctor is back. Mark Mitchell is back. Kyle Filipowski's back. And I think that is why even Ryan Young, who I feel like has been in college since Forever Young dropped in the theaters. And then they go out and get some big time freshmen. One of the best classes over the past couple of years, I feel like. NC Nick, I'm going to start with you first here because this is your squad. Why is this team way better than last year's team?
I mean, come on, experience. We're not replacing, 2/3 or 3/5 or 4/5 of the starting lineup. This is the last time Duke brought back 4 returning starters. It was 2004. And that team went to the Final Four. The last time Duke brought back their top 4 leading scorers was 1985. And that team went to the national championship. So, we're used to getting to know all these new freshmen who, are playing major minutes and starting and, some of the best players on the team. That's not the case this year. This year, continuity and all that talent, those talented freshmen, they're going to play complementary pieces. So, I mean, there's a couple areas of concern, but they're small areas. I mean, flat out, just the depth, the talent, and the experience is top 5 in the country.
What areas are you concerned about?
Rim protection. I think with Derek Lively leaving, I mean, he was such a game changer on the defensive end. And now you're going to have Filipowski moving to the 5. He is he's not quite the athlete. He's not quite as long and can jump as well as Lively. So he's not the shot blocker. Now, he did have a hip surgery in the offseason, and he says he's feeling much more agile, much more athletic. That kind of limited his athleticism last year. So we'll see how that goes. But rim protection, number 1. Number 2 is I still want I want one like dead eye shooter to emerge, because I think we have 4 or 5 guys that can step beyond the arc and hit threes, but so far none on a consistent basis. So that might be Jared McCain, the freshman. He's supposed to be the best shooter of the bunch. Maybe it's Jaden Shutt, the sophomore. But those are my 2 areas of concern. But I mean, really, I'm very excited for this season because, this is one of the best rosters in the country.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this is this could be the big step for Scheyer here in year 2. Mac, what do you make of the Duke Blue Devils heading into the Scheyer's second season?
Yeah, very very talented roster. Got better as the year went on, but I think they're a little bit overhyped coming into the year. I still want to see it another year from Scheyer. I think we saw it with Hubert Davis in his second year. They couldn't live up to expectations. I'm not saying Duke's going to miss the tournament like Carolina did. That probably will never happen ever again, where preseason 1 misses the fucking NCAA tournament. But I do think that I think they're probably closer to a 4 or 5 seed come tournament time than the number 1 overall seed. I think people are getting a little carried away comparing them to the Kansases of the world. They still are relatively young.
There you go. I already like this rivalry. Already building here.
I didn't say they were going to miss the tournament.
I think drawing a parallel to UNC is a little too easy. And I think a lot of UNC's problems this past year were team chemistry issues.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help when some girl at UNC is fucking every player on the team. You know what I mean? That'll do it right there.
That can create a wedge, and that can happen anywhere. It's just unfortunate for UNC's fans that it happened to them, and it's fortunate for us Duke fans that it did, because it was pretty hilarious to see that team just unravel.
Yes,
I mean,
and also the other difference too is that UNC went to the national championship game, so they came in. Yes, preseason expectations, teams have to deal with those, and some teams deal with them better than others. They didn't deal well with those preseason expectations, but they went to the national championship game the year before. Duke bowed out in the second round, so I think Duke is still hungry with something to prove. I think that's the difference between this year's Duke and last year's UNC.
Yeah, and Bobby Hurley would never try to fuck Christian Laettner's girlfriend. All right, yeah, I do believe you get your ass kicked doing something like that. No, I guys, I have them winning the ACC regular season. I'm just going to reveal that, big shocker here. I got them winning the ACC. I think they're the best team in the ACC this year. And yeah, I think this is where they make a big jump. I really do. Let's move along to the next school alphabetically, and that's the Florida State Seminoles, who I consider really an absolute fucking mystery. I don't know what's that. Leonard Hamilton, legendary coach, 22nd season in college basketball, 9-23 last year, 7-13 in the ACC. The past 2 years, I mean, Hamilton had this program rolling. Once again, this is back to my theory that you can't have a good football program and basketball program at the same time, because out of nowhere last year, Florida State had a good football season, so the basketball team had to suffer. They lose Caleb Mills. He never worked out at Florida State. He was the AAC Player of the Year at Houston. Never worked out, even though 13 points a game a season ago. They also lose Matthew Cleveland to the National Basketball Association. They brought in some nice names, though, in the to make up for some of the losses they have. They also Darren Green, the former UCF guard, is back, 13.5 points a game a season ago. They went out and got Primo Spears from Georgetown, who at times I was convinced was pretty good. Also, Josh Nickelberry from LaSalle. That was their leading scorer a year ago, if memory serves me correct. And also Jameer Watkins from VCU. They still have some other guys like Jalen Worley that averaged 7 points a game, 3.5 assists just about. Played 28 minutes a game in a sophomore season. He's going to be an upperclassman this year. Also Baba Miller at the power forward spot. This team seems a little deep too. I know they're waiting on a waiver from Spears. I still believe, but what do you make of Florida State? Because I had a hard time breaking this down. When I went 1-15, I was like, I got no fucking idea. They could finish 5th. They could also finish 14th. Mac, what do you make of the Seminoles?
You probably would say this team probably has the biggest discrepancy from ceiling to floor. I think you think back to what Leonard was good from about 2010 to 2020. It seemed like they always went like 10 deep and they were huge. I don't know if he's the right guy during the transfer portal NIL era. He hasn't been that good ever since the game is a little bit changed over the last couple of years. Still a great coach, obviously getting older. I don't really know what to make of this team. I'll probably say middle of the pack, but it would not shock me if all of a sudden they're back and they're in the top 4 in the ACC again.
And I forgot Cameron Fletcher also, who's I thought a pretty good player too.
Yeah.
He's on the roster again. I mean, they have talent. Nick, what do you make of the Seminoles?
Yeah, certainly probably the highest variance team in the ACC. Who knows what to expect, but Hamilton has slipped up the last couple of years, just going 17-14, and then last year 9-23. And to Mac's point, you have to wonder if the old coach is kind of fading away here. If he can put together a roster like this on the fly with so many new faces, because that's not what he did in the past. In the past, he had experienced teams. He would maybe bring in like one top-notch recruit, to have an influx of talent with the older experience. So it's going to be interesting to watch the Seminoles here. I can't have faith in them right now, just the way the last 2 years have went, but they are high variance. If Hamilton, I mean, he is a hell of a coach, regardless of his age. So maybe he finds a way to get these guys to gel, because I do think the talent is there. The size is there. I mean, the smallest guy in their projected starting 5 is 6'5". So I think that they can be long and athletic and good on the defensive end of the ball. Offensively, it might be a struggle. A lot of question marks here with the Noles.
Yeah, I mean, this was the hardest team. I had the hardest team out of the whole entire conference. This was the team I struggled with the most. We'll get to projections at the very end.
It feels like there's one or two of these teams in every conference. So
yeah, very true. Very true. Let's talk about the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Buzz, buzz, sting, sting. They went out and hired. Look, they got rid of Josh Pastner. They already won. They already won. Now, Damon Stoudemire comes in. He was a Celtics assistant previously. Before that, he was Pacific, the Tigers out here in California. He was the head coach there. Getting a big name, going the Dion route, works for college football. Can it work for college basketball? It didn't work when Houston hired Clyde Drexler. But David Stoudemire coming in, he's got a little more coaching experience than, say, Clyde Drexler did. They lose Rodney Howard, Jalen Moore, and Davion Smith from a year ago. But pretty active in the portal. And that's the one thing you can say about Pastner is he actually had talented teams. I feel like there were certain players where I was like, whoa, he's really good. It just would never work out. So they bring back a couple guys that I think the Georgia Tech fans should be excited about, and Lance Terry, Miles Kelly, and a few others, Dalen Coleman. But they also went out in the portal. They brought in Amari Abram from Ole Miss. This is a guy that played 21 minutes a game as a freshman with the Rebels. 8 points a game there. And then they brought in Tyshawn Claude from Western Carolina. Sorry, Weehawk, he left you high and dry. He's a grad transfer that averaged 15.5 points a game and just about 9 boards with the Catamounts. Also brings in Ebenezer Duwana from NC State. I can't fucking pronounce these names. All right. And Kawasi Reeves from Florida. I mean, very active in the portal. Also brought in Tafare Gapare. There we go. I'm just going to rhyme it. From UMass with the Minutemen and Frank Martin. I mean, this is college basketball in 2023. This is like the Memphis Tigers the other day. And ironically, they have an NBA coach too, a former star guard too. But I mean, how fast could all these guys gel? They do return some key pieces, I think, from a year ago, but it's a shit ton of transfers. I had the middle of the pack, towards the back of the middle of the pack, though. Mac, what did you make of the Yellow Jackets?
Yeah, another mystery team. And, when we talk about kind of the downfall of the ACC a little bit, like Georgia Tech and Wake Forest are like the two that I think of, because these were once proud programs. Now Georgia Tech is just such a mystery team. I don't see how you can buy into Damon Stoudemire. He had a losing record at Pacific. He had a losing record in the West Coast Conference at Pacific. I don't see them turning it around right away if he ever gets it turned around. I'll say bottom 5 team in this league. I just there's a lot of pieces that look good on paper, but I just can't trust them to mesh everything and make it work in the ACC.
Nick, same thoughts for you and the Yellow Jackets?
Pretty much. I mean, my breakdown of the ACC is I have a definitive top 4, a definitive bottom 4, and then the middle is just a complete jumbled pile of mess where any of those teams could be number 5. Any of them could be, the 5th worst. I actually have Georgia Tech in the bottom 4. The too many pieces, like where that guy Claude from Western Carolina, he's a projected starter. Who knows how he'll play at the ACC level? They got the 4-star Ndongo, the big man, projected as a starter. He's a true freshman. Who knows what kind of learning curve he needs to go through to become a productive player. So right now it seems like Damon Stoudemire is building for the future. He's a couple years away.
Wow, I was higher on the Yellow Jackets than you guys. And I didn't think I was high on them. All right, let's move along. Next up, we go to the Louisville Cardinals, who last year fucking hilarious last year. I think it was the season opener when Bellarmine got the best of them. Maybe it wasn't the season opener. I don't remember. But either way, watching them lose every night, and I don't even hate Louisville. I just love sports misery. Knowing that their fan base is that passionate. And knowing how every game would, I feel like the first couple games were close, and then after that they started to lose by 40 to a lot of schools. But
and Louisville's not old school ACC, but this is also a program that's limiting the ACC's reputation because Louisville should be top 25, year in year out, tournament bound, and so a couple bad coaching hires has prohibited that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not hiring a coach that are bringing prostitutes in for the players, you're not going to win that many games. All right. No, but Rick Pitino back at St. John's, couple shaky hires, 4-28. Kenny Payne's second season, 4-28. Oh my God. 2-18 in the ACC. I didn't know it could ever get this low. I didn't think it could ever get this low at Louisville. They lost everybody, but hey, if I was 2-18 in the ACC, I think I would tell everyone to leave too. Ellis gone, Jalen Withers gone, Kamari Land's gone, Sidney Curry gone. So in the middle of the college basketball season last year, not even the middle, probably the first 2 months, Sky Clark, who looked like a baller at Illinois, just said, "No, I quit." Didn't even finish out the season. Just fuck you, coach. I quit. That's a nice get, assuming he doesn't do this again.
Probably do it again.
Assuming we're not a month into the season and say, you know what? I didn't get the ball. I'm out of here. Fuck you. Right? They also have Trey White coming in from USC. But Sky Clark, I think, is a phenomenal talent. And then, Trey White, who averaged 9 points a game as his freshman season at USC. I was impressed with his talent as well. They also brought in a slew of freshmen. We will see how they work out that I know they're excited about. They return Mike James, who played 31 minutes a game last year, 10.1 points per game. They bring back also JJ Traynor. I mean, if he doesn't win this year, he's done, right? I mean, this is Louisville.
Yeah.
But there's a shit ton of freshmen here. I mean, how fast are these freshmen gonna be able to make an impact? I know they got a big time recruits here. Dennis Evans, Corin Davis, Caleb Glenn, Curtis Williams, but NC Nick, is Louisville gonna win this year?
No, not too much. I don't think so. But it seems like so it'll be interesting to see what they do with Payne, because it seems like in the offseason they went with the old school rebuilding approach with high school talent mostly. Yeah, they brought in 2 transfers, but they had 4 top-notch freshmen, second best recruiting class in the ACC coming in. So, and it seems like Louisville's been a revolving door of transfers the last few years. So maybe this was hey, let's build for the future. Let's provide a nice base for future success, but not immediate results. But that might not jive with Kenny Payne and how long he's going to be there. So it'll be interesting. But I do think a step back was needed, and they needed to build the foundation up from the bottom in order to get more success 2-3 years down the road. But it'll be interesting what they do with Payne because this team is not going to win a whole lot this year.
I was about to say, what is the magic number here? If he goes 17 and 15 or something like that, he's back?
I would give him a year 3. Yes.
Yeah. He's probably got to be around 500.
I don't have him 500, guys. So
No.
I think Kenny Payne, I think he might be out the door. But Mac, you got this team. What's your analysis of this team?
This team sucks. I mean, to keep it completely honest, like one of the all-time bad hires, Kenny Payne. I mean, he starts his career off, loses to Bellarmine, Wright State, App State. You're at Louisville. Come on, man. And then they're 0-9 and they beat Western Kentucky and they dump the Gatorade in the locker room. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm out on this team. And then they barely beat FAMU the next game. All-time bad. I mean, this is like Nick said, and you said, Colby, this is a proud program. Like, this is not Bellarmine. This is Louisville. You can't go 4-28. I think he's a dead man walking. And your point guard quit midway through the year. I mean, he's definitely going to do it again.
that does. I mean, look, you got to be a little concerned if they start out shitty again. Will he dip out? You got to be a little concerned. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I want to see Louisville good again, but it is also hilarious to watch because they care so much. That's a credit to the Louisville fans. But it's also fucking hilarious when they lose. Jumping over to talk about the Miami Hurricanes and Jimmy Larranaga. He did it again, guys. He got back to the Final Four. They were 29-8 in the regular season, 15-5 in the ACC, and he continues to be one of the best coaches that I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves. Isaiah Wong, though, and Jordan Miller are gone. Both were studs for them a year ago. Now, they did bring in Matthew Cleveland. Did I say he went to the NBA? My bad.
He transferred.
Florida State. Yeah. What the hell is this transfer?
That's fired.
Yeah. What the hell?
That's a red flag, man.
Unbelievable. You go from Florida State. Where the hell is my sound job? I can't find it right now. But, I mean, there's certain things that there's supposed to be a code. All right, you can transfer anywhere, right? There's supposed to be a code. You go, I don't know where. There it is. From Florida State to Miami. That's what I'm saying. You can go anywhere in the ACC, even in the ACC, just not Miami. And he goes there. But look, they do return Nigel Pack, the guy who got a shit ton of money from Kansas State to go there. He's a stud. They do have the former Arkansas State forward, Norchad O'Meara. They also got Wooga Poplar, great name. He played 23.5 minutes a game. Bensley Josephs as well. They return a decent amount of production on a team that went to the Final Four, and they got a couple freshmen I know they're excited about. I got them as a top 5 team in the ACC. Nick, your thoughts on what James Larranaga's doing down there?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big fan of this Miami team right here. I think, all things considered with Cleveland coming over from Florida State, he was a perfect fit to fill the shoes of Jordan Miller. Both of the guys are the exact same height and weight, 6'7", 195, 200. If anything, Cleveland might be a little bit better of a scorer, but he'll enable them to be able to play the small ball that Larranaga wants. And as good of a player as Isaiah Wong was, Bensley Joseph and Wooga Poplar are ready to step up and fill those shoes. So I think depth is a little bit of a concern, but it always is with Larranaga squads. I think the starting 5 is really good, and I expect another deep run in March.
Mac, your thoughts? Because I completely agree. I think they're going to be a pretty damn good team this year.
Yeah, so they've been weird the last couple of years because they finished outside the top 100 in defense both years, but still somehow make a run. I think that talks about how good a coach Larranaga is. I'm saying a step back from that expectation this year. I really think they're going to miss Jordan Miller. I thought he was a total glue guy, but I love Wong, and I loved Wong. I still think they're going to be a tournament team, but I don't think they got another deep March run in them again.
A lot of that matters with seeding, I feel like, but yeah.
Yeah, true. I mean, they should have lost to Drake.
It's true. Didn't they blow?
Yes.
Drake blew a big lead, if I remember correctly.
We both had him on the money line.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
I had about 17 whiskey ginger, so I was like,
yeah.
Drake?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, no, I think they're going to be pretty damn good, though. Next up, let's move along to the team everyone I think wants to talk about right now. Because who the fuck are we getting when we see the North Carolina Tar Heels this year? Hubert Davis is 20-13 a season ago, 11-9 in the ACC. Even in a down year, still had a winning record in the ACC. Caleb Love is gone. Pete Nance is gone. Leaky Black gone. Puff Johnson gone. But they kind of killed it in the portal. Obviously, Armando Bacot back for his 37th season. RJ Davis back. But they went out and got Cormac Ryan from Notre Dame, which I thought was a pretty good get. They went out and got Harrison Ingram from Stanford, which I thought was a pretty good get. And they got Jalen Withers from Louisville. How's that, Louisville? You lose your one of your guys to your rival, like someone, I don't know, rival, but someone in conference. Also, James Okonwu from West Virginia, who I know you're familiar with. Mac. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce these names, dude. Don't start with me. And then they brought in a couple big-time freshmen. They should be really good, but I thought that last year. Mac, what do you think of Carolina this year?
I'm going to make a hot take. I think Carolina's going to challenge Duke. I know that it's like Carolina and Duke, but I think everybody's down on this team. It's the year after the hype. Addition by subtraction, getting rid of Caleb Love. That was a total nightmare. I didn't think Nance was a good fit there. I know he's supposed to replace Manic. I think they got better pieces that'll mesh inside. Obviously, Bacot's back for his super senior year. And I think RJ Davis is going to have a bounce back year as well. So I like Carolina this year on a bounce back year with lower expectations.
Yeah, I definitely think they're definitely going to make the tournament this year. If not, Hubert Davis.
He's gone.
He's going to turn down. Yeah. Nick, you hate Carolina, so I expect you to tell me that they're not going to make the tournament. But what do you make of this team? Because I thought they killed it in the portal.
I'd be surprised if they don't make the tournament. I can still be honest. And I do think a lot of these pieces might fit better. The problem with Love and Davis, other than the women issues, was that they both like the ball in their hands. They both like to shoot a lot. Apparently, this true freshman, Elliot Cadeau, is a pass first, distribute, get other teammates involved. So that sounds like the backcourt is going to fit together more nicely. The only potential problem is that Cadeau is a true freshman that is, projected to start at point guard. There's definitely a learning curve. We'll see how he, adapts to college basketball. And then the other thing with Harrison Ingram, he's a good player, but the thing that made UNC so dangerous 2 years ago was Brady Manick could step out to the three-point line and let Bacot just man the paint by himself. He didn't clog it up. Ingram's not really the three-point shooter anywhere near Brady Manick was. So I'm still kind of worried about two big men kind of clogging up the paint.
You think Withers could be that guy?
Withers is, he's a decent player. I don't think he's a three-point shooter either. I don't think he's a big body.
But no, but he can make. If memory serves me correct, I thought he was he had a decent mid-range game, right?
I remember Withers being just a big body, a bruiser.
He shot 42% from three, but I forget how many attempts he actually had. But
I thought he could make the 7 or 8 footer, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Either way, this is a talented team. They did very well in the portal, and I just think without the drama, that's going to serve UNC really well, and they're going to get back to playing good basketball, being maybe a 3 seed or a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, and at that point, who knows what can happen?
And they'll go winless against Duke, right?
Of course, Duke. Yeah. Scheyer swept them year one. Scheyer hasn't lost to UNC.
Oh, yeah. Get Coach K out of there. Bring in Scheyer.
Just looking at Withers real quick, he was 40 of 96 from three, so he had a good year shooting the ball, but he was on Louisville, so we'll see.
Yeah. At Louisville, you're just fuck it. I got the ball. I'm going to shoot.
You got the blue light.
Yeah.
Not even the green light.
It's going to be fascinating to watch. Now, let me ask you something. Obviously missing the tournament would be a complete disaster scenario, but do you think what would have Carolina fans If he makes a tournament, they lose in the first round. You think Carolina fans will be upset and wanting and thinking about, looking out the front door essentially? What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think whenever Duke or UNC, I mean, we have high expectations. This is Blue Bloods. This is 2 of the best 10 programs in the country for the last 50 years. If you miss 1 year and then the next year you bow out in the first round and you have a very unproven head coach, then the seat's getting pretty damn hot for sure.
Yeah. Mac, you think he's gonna make it?
I mean, he's got to make the tournament at least. I just pulled up Matt Doherty. He lasted 3 years there, made a run in his first year, but then 8-20 and then 19-16, and see you later. In comes Roy Williams. So he's got to make the tournament. I mean, if they miss the tournament, I think he's gone. Can't miss back-to-back at Carolina.
Yeah. Let's talk about another guy that everyone thought might be gone. That's Kevin Keats in NC State. Yeah. Look, I know this is a filthy program, but I mean, Kevin Keats, at least he's not wearing that loud-ass jacket that Sidney Lowe used to wear. Shit. It's fucking obnoxious. Look, I mean, 23-11 a season ago, 12-8, finished 6th in the ACC, and went dancing. Jarkel Joyner's gone, though. The Ole Miss transfer. Jaquavian Smith gone. Jack Clark, who's hit those dingers, he's gone. And Dusan Mahorkic. I don't know how to fucking pronounce these names anymore. He's gone. But they brought in DJ Horn from Arizona State, who at moments, watching him out here in LA, getting those Pac-12 games, one of the few places that could get the Pac-12 network. I actually thought at times he was pretty fucking good. They also bring in Jaden Taylor from Butler and Ben Middlebrooks from Clemson. You got to love this trade here. It's like, okay, we're going to give you Jack Clark. You give us Ben Middlebrooks. All right. Mohamed Daria from Mizzou coming in, as well as Michael O'Connell from Stanford. It's a lot of pieces there. They do return Casey Morsel. Patty C still upset about that. And they do return the big man, DJ Burns, who that was a fucking steal in the portal.
Everybody's favorite.
Yeah. They got a shit ton of transfers, and I know they're still waiting on a couple waivers, but I mean, I think first thought you're expecting a slight regression, but this is kind of what we, back to what NC Nick said, 5 to 11.
Mm-hmm.
NC State's going to be somewhere there. I just don't know if it's going to be in the upper or the bottom tier of that. Knowing NC State, they always, are pretenders. So I will say they're going to be towards the back of that. Mac, why is NC State a terrible institution? No, I'm joking. Continue.
Well, they're at least better than one other institution in this league that we'll talk about here soon. But man, this is another weird team. I think they caught lightning in a bottle last year with Joyner and Smith. Can they do it again? With Horn and Taylor coming in to replace them with the guards. I'm a skeptic. I don't think it's going to happen again. I'm probably looking at an NIT team. Kevin Keats has been a roller coaster, but he did survive in advance last year. I respect that. But I don't think they can do it back-to-back years and make it back-to-back.
If he gets Horn to play at his maximum potential, I think it's a great get. The problem was Horn was kind of inconsistent.
Yes. Up and down.
Yeah. NC Nick, you're right there in Raleigh. You've been asking a couple of guys at the grocery store about the team this year or what?
Yeah, talking to the bag boy, see what he thinks. Keats is entering year 7, and he's only made the NCAA tournament twice. His first year and this past year. Hasn't won a game. So I don't think you can have a whole lot of faith in his squad, especially when there's so many new faces. The top 7 guys are all transfers. On paper, there's some nice players, there's some nice pieces, but he's never really been able to put that all together to make a run in March. So, yes, I mean, their ceiling is an NCAA tournament team. Maybe they could squeak in, but I don't really see them doing much if they get there. And if anything, I mean, I think if you're an NC State fan, you're kind of mad they made the tournament last year because that extended his life there. If they didn't make the tournament, he probably would have been fired. And let's face it, the results haven't been there in his 6 years so far. I don't know why in year 7, all of a sudden, he makes a run. So I have to fade the Wolfpack.
Yeah. But okay. Yeah, we'll see, because I'm eager to see our rankings at the end. Next up, we talk about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Mike Bray gone. He's at the linebacker end doing shots with everybody. All right.
Go, baby.
Micah Shrewsbury did a fantastic job at Penn State, former Matt Painter assistant at Purdue. He comes into South Bend, and he loses everybody. Just that's kind of the way it goes when you bring in a new coach these days in football or basketball. But Nate Laszewski gone. Cormac Ryan gone, J.J. Starling gone, Dane Goodwin gone, Trey Wirtz gone, Marcus Hammond gone. That whole team, the whole team is gone. It's a brand new fucking team, essentially. Now, he went out in the portal, and he brought in Julian Roper, the second from Northwestern, Tay Davis from Seton Hall, Keba Nij, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Nahi from Penn State. And, you know what helps is when you bring in one of your own. Braden Shrewsbury, there we go. Yep. State College High. All right. Getting one of your own. But he also brought in another freshman they're excited about, and Marcus Burton. But there's too many new faces here. This is gonna be fascinating to watch because I think this guy could fucking coach. Yeah. But I got them in the bottom 4 of the ACC just because there's a lot of new faces. Nick, what do you think of the Irish?
On paper, this is one of the worst teams in the I was going to say Power 5 like it's college football, but in major conference college basketball, this is one of the worst teams on paper. I mean, Julian Roper averaged 4.4 points a game for Northwestern last year. He is what we're going to call their their leading returning scorer. You got 2 freshmen that's supposed to be in the starting 5, and those freshmen were, I mean, decent recruits, but not like, 5 stars or high 4 stars. So, I do think they got the coaching hire right. I think Shrewsbury can coach, even though it's a small sample. But it's going to take time. It's going to take, it's not going to be this. Definitely not going to be this year. Probably not going to be next year. But if you give them time, I think Notre Dame can get back to where they were had back-to-back Elite Eights in 2015 and 2016.
Yeah, I'm your leprechaun. All right, Mac, what do you make of the Irish?
Yeah, I like Shrewsbury, but I think they're going to suck this year, and I think because they're young, and I think it's a team that's going to take it on the chin early. He's going to play his freshmen, and they're going to get better and better, and it's a team that's going to be a dog and a heavy dog in a lot of ACC games, and we'll look to back them because I think they'll be better, light years better by late February into March from November.
I completely agree. And to my ranking of them way, way, way behind in the ACC. But now let's go to Pittsburgh. Let's go to Pittsburgh. Mac's favorite school in all the land. Jeff Capel. People were talking about him on the hot seat. They said there's no way he can come back. He even had one of his players he was counting on punch a fucking cop in the face, got arrested, suspended for the season. And they battled adversity. 23-12, 14-6 in conference, tied for 3rd in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And I see a hat. If you're watching youtube.com/the college experience, I see a eat shit Pitt hat there. Fantastic. By Moneyline Mac there, obviously a West Virginia grad, and he coached there. But Jeff Capel, look, you want to talk about, he's in the Kevin Keatson era. They thought he was going to get fired. No. They had a great year, but they lost some key pieces off that team. Jamaris Burton, former Texas Tech transfer, he's gone. Nelly Cummings, stud a year ago, gone. Greg Elliott, gone. Sabande, gone. They bring in Ishmael Leggett. He was good at Rhode Island. Interesting.
He was solid. Yep.
Interesting. They also bring in Zach Austin, no relation to Ike, from High Point. And they bring in a nice freshman class that I know they're excited about. They do return Blake Henson, who's very good. They also bring in bring back Federico, 6'11" junior that, played substantial minutes on their team a season ago. They also have Diaz Graham coming back. They got their big. The big bodies are back. It's the other positions that they should be concerned about. I kind of think they're going to be kind of similar to last year's team. Now, I'm not saying they're definitely going to make the tournament, but I think they're going to be somewhere between 5 and 8 in the ACC. Not 5 and 12. I have them on the higher edge.
High middle.
Yes.
Not low
5
middle.
and 8, and I think they're going to be a bubble team, and it's going to be interesting and fun to watch. NC Nick, I'll go to you first because we know what our friend is going to say here. What do you make of Jeff Capel? Former Duke guy, so maybe this is jaded too. But what do you make of what this team can be this year?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Their front court is loaded. I mean, Henson and Federico, and then both the Diaz-Graham twins. I really like their front court. The problem is that those 4 departures were basically all guards, and college basketball is still guard play heavy. I mean, you need good guards in college basketball. I don't care what kind of big men you have. So there's big question marks if Ishmael Leggett can step into Pitt and play as well as he did at Rhode Island. Big question marks with the true freshman Carlton Carrington, or maybe some of the other transfers like the guy from High Point, Zach Alston. So there's question marks here. You got to like the front court. You got to have serious, pause for hesitation with the back court. And for me, that leaves me kind of with a team that misses the NCAA tournament, kind of like Capel's first 4 years there.
But hang on, Pitt football is doing terrible. It means Pitt's going to win the ACC.
Your scientific approach, nonetheless, you might be wrong.
Mac, tell me why Pitt's going to finish 15th in the ACC.
Yeah, or they could just fucking suck in basketball too. It'd be fantastic. Well, they're going to lose December 6th, so you can chalk that loss up because they're coming to Morgantown to get their ass beat just like they did in football. I kind of view Pitt like NC State. I think Kevin Keats survived. I think Jeff Capel survived. But there's too many question marks in the backcourt. I mean, you mentioned those 4 guys. Part of the reason why Pitt was able to win more games than they should have was because they were the oldest team in college basketball last year. Now they lose that. I mean, obviously, I think they're going to fucking suck. But I also just have there's so many question marks with this backcourt. So yeah, they're going to miss the tournament. And I'm not a Jeff Capel guy either.
I mean, he's better than Kevin Stallings, but I mean, yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, who isn't? But hey, man, he's not Jamie Dixon either.
Fair.
So eat shit, Pitt.
There you go. I thought you went a little light on him. That was nice. That was very nice.
I'm saving my ammo. It's only October 3rd.
Yeah.
I'm still celebrating from that football win a couple weeks ago.
All right, now let's hop over and talk about the Syracuse Orange men because Jim Boeheim's not on the sideline picking boogers anymore. He's gone. All right. And, he said he's not going to go to any games unless potentially he might in Maui. Well played, coach. Well played. If you're going to be retired, you don't say, nah, I'm not going to stay in fucking Syracuse, New York. I'll just open up a steakhouse with my name on it and I'll live in fucking Barbados. You know what I mean? Some shit like that. But, yeah.
Maybe he's going to buy a new house in Maui after those fires cleared out some room for him.
Yeah, Patty C has a conspiration about that.
I've heard that theory.
I didn't know Boeheim was a part of that. I heard Oprah and The Rock, but
potentially.
Well, look, Joe Girard's gone. Jesse Edwards is gone, but Adrian Autry, former player, coming in, and look, they're not going zone anymore. He's already said this. We're not doing that zone shit. That's yesteryear. They went out and got, first off, love the J.J. Starling get from Notre Dame. Okay, I can buy in a little bit. They also bring in Naheem McLeod from Florida State and Chance Westry from Auburn, as well as Kyle, is it Koof from Kansas, the Jayhawks. They do return Benny Williams. They do return Chris Bell and Judah Mintz. Hey, why do I'm actually buying in a little bit here. I actually think this was needed in a way. It sounds terrible, but I think this was needed. I think this is what needed, and I think they have a team that could make the NCAA tournament this year. I think I'm going to take a shot. I think Syracuse dances this year. Mac, your thoughts on the Orangemen?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing the Orange play man-to-man, and if Boeheim goes to the games, is he going to be confused going, why are they not standing in that fucking 2-3 zone that they have for the last 40 years? You mentioned it. They lose Edwards and Girard, but I like the pieces that they brought in. I think they're more athletic. Obviously, it's nice having McLeod in the middle that's 7'4". I think they're a bubble team. Now, Syracuse has gotten the benefit of the doubt multiple years under Boeheim. Whenever they were in the bubble, they always found a way to push them in, get them in.
Yeah, but then they went to like the fucking Elite Eight, though.
I know, it was crazy. Like they would suck all year, and then somehow that zone was just a matchup nightmare for everybody because you're not used to seeing it all year. And then, so we'll be interested to see this because, it's a lot unknown. Transitioning from Boeheim over to Autry, so another mystery team in the ACC for me.
Nick, your thoughts on the Orange?
I do agree that the old curmudgeon Jim Boeheim was due to leave. That is definitely for sure. But the question is can Adrian Autry coach? And that is who knows,
But I mean, I think who knows if he can coach, but it's pretty bold to come in and say, no, we're not doing any of that shit he did for 47 years.
Well, hey, you got to make it your own, man, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I was impressed by that because I feel like a lot of coaches would kind of be like, I'm going to do what he's doing.
Right.
I'm still going to run that defense. He's a legend here.
But that still doesn't tell me how good of a coach he's going to be. I do respect the move, and I agree with the move, but ultimately doesn't mean a whole lot right now. Now, I do really like the backcourt. Mintz and Starling, that's a great backcourt.
Yes.
Yes. Question marks on some of the other part of the roster. They're in that mid-range of the ACC where another pretty high variance team, especially with an unknown, unproven coach.
Yeah. I'm telling you, though, I think I'm buying in more here than, say, some of the other hires.
Why?
No. I'm saying because of the roster. I'm sorry. I think the Shrewsbury hire will work. I just think the roster. I look at the roster and I'm like,
this roster is a lot better than Notre Dame's roster. For sure.
And compared to Damon Stoudemire's too. I mean, I'm saying all the new ones. This is the roster that I think is the most equipped to make to make it to March and maybe even have a little bit of a run.
Agreed.
Jumping over to Patty C's Wahoos. Purposely didn't tell him about this episode because I didn't want to hear this bullshit about how they're going to be winning the ACC. But hey, they did win the ACC regular season last year.
They always do.
25-8, 15-5 in the ACC. Tony Bennett, 15-5. I've already said by them getting Sanchez, the former Charlotte coach, they got to leave. I'm speculating. I'm creating this myself. I have no inside tips, sources, whatever. That Tony Bennett's going to retire after the year. And what is it? Ron Sanchez will be the next head coach. That's my guess because something didn't make sense to me about that hire. Something he's about to go into a pivotal year at Charlotte and then he just dips out to go to his old job. I mean, more money is possible, but something's weird. Armin Franklin's gone. Jaden Gardner's gone, a filthy UCU transfer. Kie Clark's gone. Ben Vanderplas, the Ohio Bobcat transfer, gone. Caden Shedrick, gone. Oh, he's on Patty C's shit list. They brought in, though, Dante Harris. Remember, he quit Georgetown early on last year. He's like, I'm out. All right. He's like, can't do this Pat Ewing thing again. All right. They also brought in one of the Groves brothers. Drake Groves coming into town. Also, Jordan Minor from Merrimack. He was very good at Merrimack. If you watch the Warriors, they could play. Also, Andrew, how do I pronounce this? Andrew Rode from St. Thomas. St. Thomas, the Tommies, they can play.
Let's go ahead and say Rhodey. I like Rhodey better.
Yeah. Average 17 a game.
So one time I was just about 15 years ago, I was bartending at a Hilton in Los Angeles, in Beverly Hills. And I had this Australian couple come through that were in their like late 60s, early 70s. And, it turns out they were like super billionaires, but I mean, it was I got the guy drunk, bought him a couple beers as the bartender. And then he's telling me, he's like, hey, I got a hookup at all these like theme parks. So I went to like Universal theme parks, but I made the mistake of hopping in the car with him. His rental car, and he's like, I do a terrible Australian accent, but he's like, have some fucking roadies, man. Might have some. So I get in the car, and he just pulls out beers as he's driving. This guy is in Los Angeles. He doesn't live in Los Angeles.
I like this guy,
and he's just chugging beers in his Jeep Wrangler as we're going around, and I'm just like, dude, you can't do that here in LA, right? He's like, fuck, you gotta have some roadies, mate. Have a fun time.
It's not the Outback.
Yeah. So I'm saying, I was like, what do you do? We're not going to shoot any kangaroos on this trip, man. No. But UVA lost a shit ton. But you look at that starting lineup, Reese Beekman. Getting him back is pretty substantial. They still have Isaac McNeely there, Peter McNeely's brother, and they are excited about the class that they have, the freshman class coming in. But I mean, look, I'm not going to fade Tony Bennett. They're going to make the NCAA tournament. They're going to lose in the first round to like Wagner. All right, and then he'll maybe they get to the second round, and he'll ride off into the sunset. But what do you make of this Virginia team, Nick?
Well, I mean, you're right. So last 4 times they made the NCAAs. They won the championship 1 time and 3 first-round exits. This roster is kind of strange for Tony Bennett. You know, they're younger. They're relying on a lot more transfers from smaller schools. I mean, they lost a shit ton of experience. They lost people like Kihei Clark, been there like 6 years or something. You know, I mean, that's going to take a little while. But at the end of the day, regular season speaking, you do trust Tony Bennett and what he can do with that defense to just make it hell on opposing teams. So UVA is going to be right there in the top 4 of the ACC. I do think, like the last couple of years, their ceiling is somewhat limited in the postseason, but they're going to be just a rock-solid basketball team.
And Andrew Roddy, Andrew Roddy is going to lead the ACC in scoring. No, Mac, what do you make of the Wahoos?
Yeah, I mean, how can you bet against Tony Bennett? 11 out of the last 12 years, he's won 22 games. He's won the ACC regular season 5 times in the last 7-8 years. I mean, he's going to have him right at the top again. I just trust the culture there in the ACC regular season format where he's able to just outgrind teams, and they find a way not to lose to bad teams, and then they split with the top tier teams. They just don't shoot themselves in the foot, and they're a pain in the ass to play against. I got Virginia going back to the dance and probably losing the first round again. Yeah, that's probably what they're going to be.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Hokies. They're bitter rivals. 19-15 last year, 8-12 in the ACC. Did make the NIT, but lost in the first round. Mike Young. I don't know, man. I wonder what the temperature check is on Mike Young in Blacksburg. Grant Basile is gone. Justin Mutt's gone. Darius Maddox gone. I think Maddox transferred to George Mason, I think. They do return Sean Padula and Hunter Couture. I feel like those guys have been there for a substantial amount of time. They also brought in Mekhi Long from ODU, Tyler Nickel from North Carolina with the Tar Heels, and Robbie Baran from Northwestern. Baran scheduled to start for them. They also counting on Lynn Kidd, a guy that played about 13 minutes a game a season ago, 6'10". Also Rodney Rice, who did play substantial minutes a year ago. Am I going to go ahead and say this is a huge year for Mike Young? Because I think if he doesn't go dancing, they could be talking about his departure, especially knowing, the only thing I might save him is their football team being this bad. NC Nick, your thoughts on the Hokies?
Well, yeah, Mike Young is entering year 5, and he has 2 NCAA berths, but hasn't won a game yet in the tournament. So it is a pivotal season for him for sure. I think he's a good basketball coach. He was great at Wofford, but some coaches are more geared towards, driving that mid-major sedan rather than the major conference Ferrari. And that's kind of what I think with Mike Young. He's built this team and he's coached them almost like a mid-major team. I think the roster lacks talent. While they're good players, they're not all that athletic. I just don't think this is a great team. I think they'll be solid like they had the last couple of years. But I want to go ahead and say they probably don't make the NCAA tournament, and they just kind of hover around 500. And ultimately, that might be the demise of Young.
Mac, your thoughts on Mike Young there in Blacksburg?
Yeah, kind of the definition of a middle-of-the-pack team in the ACC. I think Mike Young might be another guy that's just not a transfer portal NIL era guy. I think he's really good, like Nick said, developing players through the system that they had, kind of like Leonard Hamilton at Florida State when his teams are really old, they're really good. And I think that's what he had those couple years when they were able to make back-to-back dances. I got them on the outside looking in here too. I think he probably will get another year just because Virginia Tech had not been to back-to-back NCAA tournaments and forever, but it doesn't help that Tony Bennett's been absolutely rolling for the last 15 years at the rival school.
Well, and Buzz Williams might be doing something at A&M this year.
True.
All right, let's talk about the final team in the Atlantic Coast Conference, the Wake Forest Demon Deacon, Steve Forbes. First off, I want to say, look, hopefully I know Forbes' wife had a stroke, so thoughts and prayers and everything with Coach Forbes there. They were 19-14 a year ago, 10-10 in conference. They lose Tyree Appleby, stud. They lose Damian Williamson. They lose Bobby Clintman. But is this the year? Is this the year for Steve Forbes? I think it could be. Bringing back Damari Monsanto, also Cameron Hildreth, and Andrew Carr. I think you got to like that. And then the fact that you go out and get a couple Zag transfers, Hunter Solis and Efton Reed. Wasn't he from LSU as well? Both coming in from Gonzaga. You bring in Kevin Miller from Fire Up Chips in Central Michigan, and Abramo Kenka from UCLA. I mean, I don't know how those all the transfers will pan out, but I can tell you this: I do like the starting five. I don't know about the bench, but starting five, I'm buying into. NC Nick, is this the year Wake Forest goes dancing?
Well, Forbes has embraced the portal big time. I mean, he has a new roster every year, and while he's upgraded the talent and they've made him respectable, I don't think he's been able to get over that hump yet. But maybe this is the year. I think Hunter Salas from Gonzaga, I think he's going to be he's basically going to fill in for Appleby, who did everything for him. I like the roster better than a lot of those other middle of the pack ACC schools. I still think they're right there. I mean, I can't put them above NC State, or I guess we will when we rank these teams, but it's so hard because this team does still have a lot of unknowns, and Forbes hasn't done it yet. But I do like the potential with this team.
Mac, your thoughts?
Yeah, Forbes has been good. I mean, 44 wins in the last 2 years. They winning back-to-back seasons for the first time in over a decade. But you mentioned it, they lose a big piece in Appleby. Kind of another team that I just see right in the middle of the pack of the ACC. I probably have them on the outside looking into the tournament, probably in the NIT here. But I like the roster as well.
I think this could be the year.
I hope so. I like Steve Forbes.
And do I mention Tragic Magic?
Yeah.
This could be the year. All right, look, let's get to it. Let's get to our final rankings here. I will start things off with who I have dead last. Let's go from last to first. At number 15, I have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. At number 14, I have the Louisville Cardinals, I should say. At number 13, I have the Virginia Tech Hokies. At number 12, I have the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. At number 11, I have the Boston College Eagles. At number 10, I have the Florida State Seminoles. At number 9, I got the NC State Wolfpack. At number 8, I have the Clemson Tigers. At number 7, I have the Pitt Panthers. At number 6, I have the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. At number 5, I have the Syracuse Orangemen. At number 4, I have the Wahoos of Virginia. At number 3, I have the North Carolina Tar Heels. At number 2, I have the Miami Hurricanes. And at number 1, I have the Duke Blue Devils. Pretty chalky, but what's the biggest surprise in there? Do you think, is it's probably Wake, right? At 6? Is that the biggest surprise, or is it?
I'll buy that.
Yeah. NC Nick, fire away your top 15 or your order.
15 Louisville, 14 Notre Dame, 13 Georgia Tech. This is where it gets tough. 12 Pitt, 11 NC State, 10 Florida State, 9 Virginia Tech, 8 Wake, 7 Syracuse, 6 Clemson. Who am I missing?
You did not say Boston College.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Shit. All right, Boston College, which is probably going to be a couple ranks higher, but 4 UVA, 3 UNC, 2 Miami, 1 Duke. So my best 4 is the same as yours, Colby.
Wait, so Boston College is finishing where?
Okay, so they're not 5th. My 5th team, I'm actually going to have Clemson.
Okay, that makes sense.
Boston College is like 7 or 8 or so.
Okay, that's a big year for the Eagles, though. Mac, rank your top to bottom, or from bottom to top, your ACC.
We'll go Notre Dame at 15, Louisville at 14, Boston College 13, Heat Ship Pitt at 12. You guys still suck ass. Georgia Tech 11, Florida State the Seminoles 10. At number 9, I got the Orange of Syracuse. 8, up and down NC State. 7, I got the Hokies of Virginia Tech.
Wow.
6, I got Wake Forest. I think I'm more down on this team than other people. I got Miami at 5, Clemson at 4, Tony Bennett at 3, and I got Carolina at 2 and Duke at number 1.
So we're all pretty chalky. Same 4 teams, with the exception, I guess you have Miami at 5, right?
Yeah, 5.
Okay. Interesting. Folks, we're just getting started. We're previewing every single conference. Subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. And follow us on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. NC Nick is on Twitter at NC__NICK. Remember, we pick every game every single day of the college basketball season. You're going to want to get the SGPN app and check out our picks. Give Moneyline Mac a follow at Moneyline_Mac. He hosts the Big 12 Experience as well and the Ryan and Rush Show. I'm on Twitter at DColbyD. And once again, the College Basketball Experience on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Give it a follow. We're breaking down every single conference before the season tips on November 6th. All right. That means we're going to have a show picking games on November 5th, people. Buckle up.
It's like a month away.
Yes. Get the SGPN app for free in the App Store and Google Play Store. Make sure you give us a like. Right? Drop a like and subscribe. What are you doing? This isn't one of these bullshit subscription services like an Office Space. You're trying to get fucking magazines like 10 you're trying to get a Betty Crocker to your house? No. All right? You just subscribe and boom. You're going to know when we're back talking college hoops. Yeah, we so later this week we're trying to over the next week we'll have the Big East, Big 12, Big Sky, Big South. We're going through it all. All right. So, folks, every single conference, subscribe to the College Basketball Experience on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. I also host the College Football Experience with NC Nick here. Subscribe to that. Also, the FCS College Football Experience, 2 separate pods. Also, the College Basketball Experience that you're listening to. The College Baseball Experience with Noah Beanick behind the scenes doing the Lord's work. You can follow him on Twitter at NoahB77. Also, you can subscribe to the Big 12 Experience. Talking Big 12. It's not just football, folks. I mean, football, basketball, baseball, everything. All right. So check out that podcast. All of those are separate podcasts. We come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. Also, check out the Sports Gambling Podcast on VSiN every single Friday night. Yes, VSiN is a network on YouTube TV. If you have the NFL package, you have VSiN, folks. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every single Friday night. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast in general. They're going to be covering college hoops hard with old Dundee here, so check out that. And also, check out the Bottom Line Bombs podcast. Terrell Furman Jr. couldn't make it, but check out the NBA Gambling Podcast. I saw Lante in the chat earlier. Check out the MLB Gambling Podcast as playoffs are heating up, and also the NBA Gambling Podcast. Folks, come talk college hoops with us in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. And, make sure you check out all of the future episodes that we got going. We've already released the AAC, the American East. We got it going. Right now. So check out all of the college basketball content that we are releasing, folks. And until next time, all right, this is the College Basketball Experience ACC season preview episode. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
save the cookie cutter mutter for 106 apart. Cause if your liquor will I sip your heart. You never dumb it down, dog. If you're smart, I throw out a couple of lines. Fighters are quick to cross. Fishy you on a dick to lie. Piss you off, it goes. Tits and bras, lips and jaws. I use my common sense to see the bitch and all. Good thing you got the market corner. Kids and malls. Grip the red carpet as you slip and fall off. Another career spear. Thanks for trying to block. You get an A for effort and an F for shut the fuck up. Here's a hint. Put down the mic, you catch a glimpse. And keep your minds wide when you see me. Mics, I seize them. So when you see him, you got a good reason to look. Catch a glimpse.